Fans, we are back live with another edition of the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling. And although this is the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast, it is, in fact, the Mario Mancini Show. We are awaiting Mario, who's a very busy man, his training regimen for June 29th in Napanee, Ontario for his last match is just incredible, and we're awaiting him. But I have to, of course, as per always, introduce to you a man who is a patriot, a future public servant, a man who is coming down to the wire in his election process, and someone who definitely deserves your vote. That would be Mr. Cheap Heat himself, Maurice Shorthall. Maurice, how are you tonight, sir?
I am great. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And we are awaiting the arrival of Mr. Mario Mancini. So I'd imagine that he could be in the gym at the moment. That could be what's delaying him.
Oh, no, wait. He's right here. He's just coming from training. Mario, how are you, sir?
What's going on, guys?
Not much. How are you doing with and I mean, we'll get into the whole process about your last match and training, etc. But how are you feeling going into this epic and historic event less than 1 month away as we speak?
Well, I'm hopeful. I'll be a little better than I am now. I've had a chest thing for like 6 weeks. That's including an antibiotic. So I'm hoping that it's still lingering. So I'm hoping that it really goes away in another couple of weeks. I'm doing everything I can to get this thing out of my chest. So it's been a long road with it. It got in there really deep, and I went on a Z-Pack, and I thought, because that always does it for me, but this thing is pretty aggravating. But it's been a very busy week. I had to work Saturday morning. I had to take care of business with my shoot job. Then I had a show at the Armada Brewing Company on Saturday night, and then after that I had to go home, and I had to get ready for my daughter's baby shower yesterday, and I'm just pretty beat up. But Scott Wilder came to the shower, and we were talking about Canada, and I gotta get a hold of Nikki Duke and see if she wants to stay over at my house, unless she wants to leave Jersey at 3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, we're getting ready. We're getting ready for the trip, and hopefully things will go well. And I just had some lower back issues going down to the front of my knees. So I just went for a little therapeutic, and hopefully that feels a little better right now, since that's why I'm a little late, because I was pretty much in pain, so I wanted to get rid of that pain. So I went to a therapeutic, and they made me stream for an hour with a deep tissue that never feels good for me. I mean, massages are supposed to be relaxing, and you get this picture in your head of falling asleep while you're getting a massage. Not mine, because they're breaking up so many calcium deposits, and they're really just got to do a job on me.
Was there a happy ending involved, Mario, or was it just standard?
That's why Mr. Shortall, I said therapeutic. I didn't say spa.
Okay.
I said therapeutic massage.
Well, it's I'll tell you straight up, as a shoot, and I know that you are a promoter yourself. You have a history in terms of running shows and that side of the business, and I can say this with absolute clarity, that one of the highlights of this huge event that we have on June 29th in Napanee, Ontario, the GNW Schools Out Slam, is Mario Mancini's last match ever. Fans are coming up to me when I'm selling tickets, doing the postering, just talking about it, saying, Mario has become someone that the fans have really appreciated, and through your work on this channel and your interviews with Hannibal and the HannibalTV.com,
Love doing
you,
Hannibal.
you've introduced a lot of new fans to yourself and your keen insights into the business. But I wanted to, right off the bat, before we get into some of the minutia, talk about what it is, what it means to you, because clearly you are putting your heart and soul into this. You're training, you're getting ready for this last match, and it's one of the big announcements that I have this week. But we'll wait for that for a bit until we get your comments, sir, about your last match ever in that ring, considering the lengthy history that you've had, and the correct me if I'm wrong, but the love that you have for the pro wrestling business.
Well, obviously, it is the love of my life. It is my first love. As I always said, even when I went to law school, they go, "Oh, you used to be a wrestler, now you're going." I go, "No, I'm just a wrestler trying to be a lawyer." Don't ever forget that. Um, so I do have a deep love for this business, but I am smart enough to know that what your brain wants, your body rejects. And this is my last match ever. I did have this is the way I'm separating it. I did have one in the United States against Flash Waller. Okay, that was the one where I left my boots in the middle of the ring, and so the way I'm calling this my last match ever is I haven't been to the great country of Canada in 35 years, maybe 30. I haven't been there, and that match I had was a singles match. Um, and this isn't. This is a six-man tag team match, and I am going in there for a six-man tag team match, and hopefully everything works out okay, and I could still display some of my skills and give the crowd a good show. And as far as my singles career goes, that was over a couple of years ago. But as far as wrestling, period, will end in this six-man tag team match.
Have you ever given any thought to the fact that I know you are very self-deprecating, and you're the last person to put yourself over, but have you ever given any thought to the fact that and one of the aspects of this show that I'm personally very excited about is the fact that we're starting this relationship with Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, and you have trained and been involved in the training, and so many great stars, of which we're going to see some of the top talent from Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling on June 29th. But have you given any fact or thought to the fact that you're stepping in there, and is there any pressure on you, six-man match notwithstanding, the last time that you ever lace up those boots to perform at the highest level that you can? Are you afraid of disappointing those students that all look up to you and respect your legacy?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, listen, I I take a trip back with my students a lot of times, and I say, let me tell you something. There's not a better feeling in the world going to an arena, not knowing who you're going to wrestle, but walking in that it really doesn't matter because you can hang with whoever they're going to put you with. It really doesn't matter. So, because you're that confident in your skills, so it's like, sometimes it's like, being 58 years old and, stepping into the box against a 24-year-old flamethrower, and he's throwing 96 miles an hour, and you're swinging the bat, almost falling down swinging it, and that's kind of embarrassing. So that's not going to happen, only because I know my limits, and I know what I can do, and I know what I should do in order to be successful and give the fans what they want in Napanee on June 29th. So I already have it in my head, and I have the footprint, if you will, in my head. And, thankfully, I have two very capable professionals in my corner, which are gonna give the crowd one hell of a show.
Wanted to mention at this juncture your opponents. There is a team here known as the Hardcore Bruisers. One being Bruiser, who is a local legend in Great North Wrestling, a man who is known for a very rough, hard hitting style. He has a partner by the name of Hardcore Steve, who is also a purveyor of very hard hitting action. And last year, Bruiser and Steve had the feud of the year in GNW, and they've now decided to team up. And I'm going to get to you in the days to come a few comments from Bruiser and Steve, their partner, an enigmatic Jeff Hardy Willow-like character by the name of Sykes, who quite frankly freaks me out. He's the high flyer of the team, but you're going to be dealing with a couple of big time dudes that are about 300 pounds apiece. And Bruiser has told me that he has little respect for you and what you bring to the table, and he is going to look on it as a mission, so to speak, to end your career entirely. But he also made a comment about your mobility period as well. How would you respond to that?
Well, listen, here's how I would respond to that. Now, going in knowing my limitations, and there's a difference between that and pissing me off and digging down deep and being the guy that I was, because somewhere deep down inside of me is that 23-year-old kid that can move and execute anything and everything I want. Now, will I pay a price for that later on if I happen to do that? Probably. But to save my self-respect and to make sure I protect myself and my partners, if need be, they will see, if they've never seen before, what comes out of the WWF.
Fair enough. We will continue to follow your training regimen, getting into the. And one of the fans here asked, and I'll just pull the question up here earlier. Rick asked about what your training regimen looked like thus far to prepare for this encounter. I'm just trying to find his question. Here we are. Rick is asking, what is Mario's current gym routine with weightlifting and cardio?
You can't get cardio for the ring, but in the ring. When it comes to professional wrestling, you'd have to be a fool to do outside cardio. People have to remember that aspire to be professional wrestlers or think they can get their wind by going on a stationary bike or a treadmill or do long distance running or sprints. All of that, what you're doing without bumps. Once you accelerate yourself in the ring with bumps, your wind is much different. So you're doing all of this cardio outside the ring without bumps. And then they get shocked because they're doing 10 miles on the bike a day and they get into the ring and they're blown up after 6 minutes. Well, that's because they're doing all that cardio without bumps. So the only way to get good cardio is to be in the ring. And I've been crisscrossing. I've been going through the middle, over the top. I've been doing the gauntlet. If nobody's familiar with the gauntlet, it's knees to chest for a minute. It's up and overs for a minute. It's Hindu squats for a minute, without a break. As far as weights, I'm doing mostly lower body because of the injuries I've sustained in my upper body. But as my powerlifting trainer used to say back in 1989, if your legs are strong, your whole body's strong. So I'm good.
Just to refresh some of the people's memories about, and I'm speaking right now to Bruiser and Steve and Sykes. Can you run down the list, and it's long, of legends that you were trusted with in the World Wrestling Federation to provide some of their first matches or otherwise, because it's a who's who in that regard.
Well, you're talking about Greg the Hammer Valentine. You're talking about Brutus Beefcake, King Kong Bundy, Hercules Hernandez, Ted DiBiase, Bret Hart, uh, The Undertaker, Playboy Buddy Rose, The Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, Demolition, Jake the Snake Roberts, Randy Macho Man Savage, the Honky Tonk Man, um, um, Bad News Brown, Kamala, Blackjack Mulligan, Terry Funk, Jimmy Jack Funk, Dory Funk Jr., Harley Race, Ted Arcidi, um, a Big John Studd, the Moondogs, Tony Atlas, Kurt Hennig, the Wild Samoans.
That is an exhaustive list of Hall of Famers and otherwise legends. And I just to put it out there to the hardcore bruisers and Sykes, you want to pay attention to that, because this man is focused and he is going to bring everything that he can to the table for that one last time. So the fans that are highly anticipating this match, they're not going to be disappointed. I know it's going to be a highlight, along with the fact that you and the legendary Paul Roma will be doing a fan Q&A in Kingston at the Buckle the 29th, starting between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The fans are really talking about that as well. So it's going to be the in a way, Mario, it's the end of your active in-ring career, but it's so much else when it comes to Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling and Great North Wrestling. And the fans are going to see why your organization, like Great North Wrestling, is one of the most talked about independents in the country.
Well, I'll tell you, I am extremely excited and happy that this is happening in Canada, because I've had so many fond memories there during my wrestling career. And I really think, even though it's a 6-man tag team match, I don't think it would have the same meaning if I did it here, because I've already did it in a singles match capacity, and this is literally the last time I'm ever going to wrestle, and I'm really happy I'm doing it in Canada. Um, and I could say, it was in Canada. So I have so many fond memories of going there, in Toronto, in Hamilton, Ontario, in Brantford, Ontario. I have a lot of good memories there, and the fans were always spectacular. They were very friendly. Um, and even the police were fantastic every time we went there. Very friendly, very nice. Everybody just treated us with such respect and grace that I'm really looking forward to going back there and stepping foot into Canada. I need a break from Biden country anyway. So, so
Break from the old man, eh?
yeah, man, I need a break. Roma needs a break from Biden country too. So um, I'm looking forward to coming there. The only thing that is very scary to me and worrisome to me is, and my daughter said I'll try to use some flex tape. She's due on July 19th, and I just, keep looking at her going, please don't have this baby on June 29th, please, because I'm not going to be here. so, but in true wrestling fashion, we're going to leave my house at about 6 in the morning and hopefully get there about noon, 1 o'clock, with a couple spots, hopefully get through the border pretty quickly. Um, do the Q&A, do the show, get a good night's sleep, get up, and we're back home on Sunday. So um, hopefully that, whatever, 36 hours, she can hold that baby in there. So, um, but listen, I'm looking forward to the trip. I'm looking forward to my students being on the road. The most important thing to me after that bell rings is Paradise Alley's relationship with Great North Wrestling and the opportunities that my kids are going to have at Great North Wrestling. But I could promise Great North Wrestling, I could promise Jack, and I could promise the fans at Great North Wrestling that only the best out of Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling will be coming there in the future after this show. Um, Even if you want to Google them now, I've already talked to Miracle Generation, who's one of the hottest tag teams in this country right now, independently. Ichiban, number one, he has stopped by last Monday, and I talked to Ichiban about Great North Wrestling, and he's like, he was absolutely. I know he just did a short stint with MLW. Um, so Ichiban is very interested in coming to Great North Wrestling, and um, the people that are coming with me in a couple of weeks, if the fans they'd probably be more than happy to come back. If they don't, they won't.
Well, I've got to say this. I have familiarized myself with the talent that you're bringing, and it's exciting. There's a lot, believe it or not, even on an independent scale. There's a lot of negativity in wrestling on on the marketplace between companies and whatnot. But I see this as an overwhelmingly positive endeavor. I'm really excited about it, and I think that the fans are going to be the ones that really benefit from this, because the talent list that we're bringing up, unbelievable. Nikki Duke, female star, has got a huge buzz here already. She's going to be in ladies action. You've got you actually, Mario, turned me on to Baylor. Can you talk about him for a sec? Man,
Baylor is,
what an athlete.
well, yeah. I mean, he's just a Class A athlete, and not really a favorite of the fans, if you will. Um, So he's really not a favorite of the fans. And I told him, maybe you want to talk about, going over to Canada and getting a hold of Jack. And he goes, yeah. I'm gonna talk about going over there, where whatever, to that place. And I'm like, and he walked away, and I'm like, okay. So the thing is he backs up what he does in the ring. He's an extremely crafty person, if you will, in the ring. He gets away with more than most. So he's got a big mouth, and he's not very liked right now. So you know, I don't know. He's got an attitude on him, but he could wrestle. That's for sure.
Just on a side note there, guys. Just I'm looking through all the comments from earlier. There's a lot of people like dripping in Mario Mancini love juice tonight. There's a lot of love going on there, so to speak.
Well, I appreciate that. You know what I mean? I mean, people should be sympathetic to an old man, Morris. No, should be sympathetic to an old.
I'm just saying it's a really good thing. That's all.
You know, I listened to, and I'm not over 60 or over. I'm not, but I listened to Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid said, for some reason, when you're in the entertainment business, once you hit 60, they start using that word legend. Legend. He goes, I'm no legend. I'm just a lucky guy. You know, I've been lucky my whole life. I'm very fortunate, and he's just a very humble guy. Um, so
The
I was
legend
just,
starter. The
yeah,
legend
I was,
starter.
yeah, yeah, I was gonna say I was just very, very fortunate to, I guess, be in the right place and be in the right time, even in the position that I had with, at the time, what was called Titan Sports. Um, so even in the position that I had, I was very fortunate, and of course, I always say in my last match for the WWF in Huntsville, Alabama, in 1992 against Rick Rude. Um, I was on the plane, and I was kind of just looking out the window, and before the plane took off, and I'm like, well, and I was talking about the whole 8 years, and I'm like, that didn't go the way I thought it would, unfortunately. And I was actually disappointed. You know what I mean? That it didn't work out, the way, my dreams worked out. Because, like I say about these guys, these superstars who have their biographies on, when they're going around 10, 11 years old, and, they're flipping around their backyard, and they're cutting promos with their friends, and, going to wrestling matches and stuff like that, and actually watching me, right? Um, my dreams weren't any different than theirs. I was doing the same thing. My brother has home movies of me cutting a promo at 11 years old about wrestling in Madison Square Garden. And, there's another home video with my brother Ralph, who's passed away, giving me forearms on the back, and I was selling them, you know what I mean, at 11 years old. So there was no difference. My dreams were no difference than theirs. The only difference is theirs came true. You know what I mean? And people could say that I'm unappreciative because I was on TV every week for the biggest company in the world. And I have wrestled. I didn't mention Rick Rude. I didn't mention Dr. D, David Schultz, Um, Steve Kern, Skinner, Big Bully Busick. I was fortunate enough to go in the ring with these guys and work with them on TV and house shows, including the Magnificent Morocco and Bret Hart and guys like that for house shows. Most of the time, Iron Mike Sharp.
Hmm.
Um, I was fortunate, and like I used to bitch back in the '80s, and Strongbow used to look at me and go, "There's a million guys out there would take your position in a minute, a million. If you don't want it, there's a lot of guys that'll love to step right in where you are." And I get it. It's just that when you're a professional wrestler and you have that burning inside of you, and it's that same burning that's going to allow me to lace my boots at 58 years old. You always want more for yourself. You always want to hit the pinnacle. You know, I last night I watched the biography on Ricky Steamboat, and like he said, you know, you start off the first three matches, did you wonder, am I ever going to be a main event? And fortunately for him, he was. And then he says, I wonder if I'm ever going to be a champion. And he was. And then he said, I wonder if I'm ever going to get inducted in the Hall of Fame. And he was. You know, mine was, you know, I'm the first three matches. Am I ever going to be the main event? No. No. You know, I'm never gonna sell out Madison Square Garden. Um, so for me, because I strive to be so much more than what I was, and I could have if I was allowed to be. Um, and that's the frustrating part because people see your matches and they judge you on your matches, and 2.5 minutes on a TV taping doesn't show an ounce of my wrestling abilities, except matches like with Playboy Buddy Rose. You know, that was a dark match that went 7 minutes or 8 minutes, where I was able to display my wrestling skills. So, you know, you're in there taking bumps and you know you're a lot better than what they're showing, but what are you going to do? Tell every fan that? Can't. The only thing they know is when they go to a house show and they see you do a 12-minute match, the same question comes out. Wow, you're a really good wrestler. How come you don't do that on TV? And kayfabe was so alive and well back then. And go, well, they put me with more of an equal opponent at this show on TV. They put me with superstars that are a lot more experienced than I am to keep the kayfabe alive, right? So.
Well, I will say this: it is an absolutely highly anticipated event. We're honored to be in this partnership with Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, and definitely to have yourself and Paul Roma up to Ontario for the first time in a long time. And fans that are watching the broadcast, you can get your tickets right now at ticketweb.ca. But if you could indulge me just for a second, Mario, I know you've done interviews for Hannibal TV, many. They were quite popular on the channel. He is making his return on June the 29th in Napanee. And I'm wondering if you've seen the short video that he put out to discuss that. Have you seen that yet?
I have not, but it's going to be an honor to share a dressing room with Hannibal. I like Hannibal a lot.
I'm just going to show you this brief video that he released today and give a big announcement about his opponent.
The sun has not set on Hannibal's career. It is not dead. Whoever gets in my way, June the 29th in Napanee, you are going to feel the violence, the rage, and the fury of Hannibal, the Blood Hunter.
So, thoughts on the opponent?
Well, it looks like he's really over the top ready for this.
Yes, it'll be his first match since our big 15th anniversary show in May of last year. And I'm going to do an exclusive announcement right here, right now. I have found someone who is no stranger to Great North Wrestling, who is a big man and a man that is going to give Hannibal probably all that he can handle. And it's not Mario, despite what Morris is saying, but I've only been authorized to say that it's a man who is no stranger to Great North Wrestling, another big man, and for now he's going to remain a mystery, but I'm telling you right now, it is going to be one very physical encounter. Are you volunteering, Mario Morris?
Not me.
Just starting a rumor. That's all.
Not me. I think he's pointing to two people over, not me.
Well, it's it's going to be a very big deal. It'll be the return to Hannibal 2 wrestling and the start of another great run for this Great North Wrestling season. And top to bottom, going to be announcing the full card in the weeks to come, but really looking forward to it, especially the inclusion of yourself and Paul Roma and all the talent from Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling.
Nice.
Morris,
Awesome.
do you have any thoughts on this historic event, given the fact that you have you go back a while with Mario and started this new phase of his career in podcasting, and now the culmination of this to the return to the ring?
Well, I think Mario would say, and nearly every guest that we talk to would say, like, Mario's not out of the wrestling business anyway because of the school and because of the podcasting and so on and so forth. But the fact that he's still involved in wrestling means that he will never be able to get out of it, ever. So Mario being back in the ring is actually not that surprising to me, even though it might be to him.
You know, listen, a shout out to my ex-wife that did a tremendous job at my daughter's shower yesterday with her baking. You know, that's the going joke. Like when I had this match a couple of years ago, I said, "That's it," and she went, "Yeah, okay." I said, "No, I'm serious. It's it. It's it. That's it." She went, "Okay." She goes, "It'll be it when you're dead." I'm like, "No. That's it." I said, "Hey, I'm wrestling in Canada." She goes, "Wow, what a surprise." So, um, guys and fans, I think the scene that got to me the most, that is so true and so depressing, is that when you're in a building or in a situation where you're walking a short distance and to get where you got to go through a curtain, and you're walking that way, and you can't help but it remind you, and then you go through the curtain and there's not a ring there, and there's no crowd chanting, and you don't miss the bumps, you don't miss away from being away from home, you don't miss the traveling, you miss that walk, you miss the fans, you miss those hands sticking out while you're walking down the aisle and you just tap them. And when you tap them, it means so much to them that they even touched you. And the cheer of the crowd, the roar of them, and getting them up and them coming down and getting them up. And that's the part that's addictive. That's the part that makes you so Ric Flair dysfunctional to lace your boots again, because all you want to do is come through that curtain. It was like 2014 when I got inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, and Howard Finkel inducted me in there. And when he announced me to be inducted, he said, "From Milford, Connecticut, Mario," and it just came up here. And I said, "Oh my God, don't break. You got to go up there and talk. Don't break." And I hugged Howard at the podium, and he said, "I love you." I said, "I love you too." And I said, "My God, I never thought I'd hear that again. I never thought I'd hear that again." And I did. So, um, it's the little things like that. People think it's, oh, you want to go in there and give it the best shot you got at what you have left, but it really is just the exposure and seeing the fans, and
I've got a
it's
question for you,
the
Mario.
whole experience. Yeah.
What are you going to use as your entrance music? This is very important.
Well, I've been using for the past, I'd say about 6 years. I've been using "Pour Some Sugar on Me" by Def Leppard.
Nice. No need to change that.
Yeah. So that's what I've been using. Nothing from Fozzy. I'm sorry.
And any update on rarefied air?
The latest news is he's willing to, for the lack of a better term, lease the saying from Holiday.
Wow,
So
that's strange, isn't it? Why did
it
you
is
just come up with a
strange.
different catchphrase?
Yeah.
He's coming to the Niagara Falls Comic-Con.
Oh,
There you are.
nice. Yeah.
Seems like
Got
it's
his-
more
He's
than a
got his
week.
own. Richard Holiday has his own air fresheners.
That's awesome.
That's cool. He's a good guy. I put in a word for him this week for over here, so
I appreciate
they're aware.
that.
They're aware he's interested.
Yeah, I appreciate that. He's
Jericho-
really he's trying to get to Japan. That's the ultimate goal.
Oh yeah, I know someone over in Japan that's working for Pro Wrestling Noah. That's from over here. I could put him in touch with him.
Yeah, I that's his goal. He wants to go to Japan for like 3 months.
I was just going to say Jericho is appearing at a Comic-Con here later in the year and charging about $250 for a photo op. So whatever Mr. Holiday gets for the lease, he should hold him up.
You know, that's what Taker gets. Do you think he should command what Taker gets? He gets $250.
No, that's a combo. Taker charges 200 for an autograph and 200 for a photo.
You can't
Separate, so
talk about
400.
you can't talk about Jericho in front of him. He's going to stand up for him every time.
I met
He loves Jericho. He loves him.
I met Jericho, and there was a stand-up. He done like a stand-up show and an autograph and a picture, and the show, I think it was €100. So that's for the show, the photo, and the autograph.
That's great. I'm happy for you.
But I'm not a fan of the rarefied air shenanigans, though. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
He's got a lot of fucking gimmicks and stuff he's done over the years. I see he's got his own talk show on AEW now called The Learning Tree. Did you see that?
No.
It's basically like, remember Talk is Jericho?
Yes.
Same kind of thing.
Yes. Has he not renamed that FTW championship something else too?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm kind of tuned out of AEW. I just see these things come up online, but I'm tuned out. That's switched off for me now. I'm done. So.
Well, it certainly remains to be seen how much longer he's going to be active in the ring. I've caught a couple of recent interviews with him where he feels that he's still able to do it on a high level. So we'll have to see, but definitely should be ponying up the money to Mr. Holiday for the intellectual property there.
Yes.
Morris, do you have any final thoughts for Mr. Mancini, as this will be the last show before he returns to the ring for one last time?
I can only wish him the best of luck, but I have a prediction. No, sorry, not a prediction. A spoiler. Mario Mancini is going to get the 1, 2, 3 in Canada and have his hand raised in victory.
I usually do get to do the job. Yes.
No, somebody else will be doing the job for you.
Oh,
I think there's a swerve coming.
I don't know. I think anybody who wants that, I lost to one of the biggest losers in the history of wrestling. I don't know. That could be a claim to fame, or that could be a bad thing.
You know what they could say? I lost to the Undertaker's first opponent ever in the WWF last night.
That's true.
Well, Mario, before we wrap it up tonight, I want to give the last word to you in terms of this event upcoming and your basically your philosophy. I know you've shared a lot in terms of your perspective and where you're coming from, but will this really be the last time you get into a ring, or will it be a Terry Funk style retirement, or where's your head at for that? Could you step into the ring and decide, you know what, I still have some gas left in the tank. I'm gonna go out there and do it for a while. Have one last great run.
Like I said, I saw Steamboat's biography at 57 years old. He went in there and he didn't skip a beat. God bless him. He went in there at 58. He got power bombed and he was in intensive care for 3 weeks. And the head injury was as such as if it didn't fix itself, he had two options. One, it's either going to fix itself or he's going to die. It's going to kill him. And thankfully, it fixed itself. And as I slowed down the video, um, he went back, he tilted his head back for that power bomb, which means wrestling 101, he didn't tuck his chin. So when you're that big of a star like Ricky Steamboat and you forget to tuck your chin, or you haven't taken a power bomb like that before, um, that's what's going to happen. And then you're going to have a swarm of people going, well, you didn't belong in the ring anyway. You know what I mean? At that age. So, um, no, I was pretty upset when I saw that, watching that last night, that happened to him, and it could happen to you. The thing that you have to remember is it's not about lack of desire or hunger or anything. It's the truth of anything can happen in there. One wrong move and you can be in a wheelchair. And you know what I have to present doesn't hold up to today's standards of the product, obviously. So that means you got to use this. So single screen me. So please. This is Mario Mancini, former WWF wrestler. I say the WWF because I never wrestled for the WWE. However, legally, you need to call it the WWE because it's no longer the WWF. So if I wrestled for the WWF, that means I wrestled back in the 80s. And if I wrestled back in the 80s, that means I wrestled every legend that you could think of. Anybody that should be on a Mount Rushmore, like Terry Funk, like Harley Race, Big John Studd, Dr. D, David Schultz, Bret the Hitman Hart, Kurt Hennig, the Wild Samoans, Demolition, the Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov. You name them and you look back in the 80s, Kamala, I was in Battle Royals with Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, everybody and every legend from the 80s. And there's one thing I've missed about wrestling in the 80s is coming to Canada. How I loved always coming to Canada. Oh, I always loved crossing that Peace Bridge, stopping by Niagara Falls on the Canadian side, because we all know that's the best side, and going on to Canada and grabbing myself a Mr. Pibbs and wrestling for the great fans in the great North. Well, now I have the opportunity to do it again, to bring myself to Canada, to bring myself to Napanee, Ontario, to Great North Wrestling, where other legends are being created and made. It's going to be an honor to be there. I can't wait to be there. I promise all the fans I'm going to give it 100%. Whether that 100% is somebody else's 25%, it'll be my 100%. And I will fight to the end. My opponents want to jabberjaw. There's nothing that replaces experience. Don't look at age, but look at experience. Whether you're a professional wrestler that goes in there and wrestles, or whether you're a hardcore person, it doesn't matter. But once I step into that ring, you have to understand that I can talk about it. I could be here in this shirt. I could be sitting in the dressing room. I could be talking to people. I could be talking to you. I could be talking to the world. But once I climb the ring stairs and I enter that ring, something else takes over my body. Something else happens to me. Something crawls inside of me that has always crawled inside of me when I've entered the ring. And it's only in my life when I get this feeling when I go into that squared circle and I am inside what I call my home. That ring belongs to me. That space, I know better than my own house. And when I get into that ring, something snaps. So whoever wants to be in front of me when I snap, let's see what happens in the end. I can't wait to see all the fans of Napanee. I want to meet each and every one of you. I want to talk to each and every one of you. And hopefully we'll create some great memories and great North Wrestling in Paradise Alley. We'll enter into a handshake that'll never break. I love Canada, and I'll see you soon.